I didn't realize I had my transition turned off. Good afternoon. What? I didn't want... Listen, it's an incredible song. I didn't want you to forget what the last one sounded like, okay? Thank you all very much for coming and watching my cool song. Oh. Oh. Thank you, everyone. So, this is a very interesting project, and there's a lot of history to it that I'd like to share with you. You give me 1 second, I gotta get my face out, there we go. So, that song, I have been wanting to cover that song for a long time. In fact, the first time I decided that I would really like to try covering it was all the way back. I remember where I was. 2022. I was on the tube, and I had heard it before, obviously, but I listened to it again, and suddenly the core of that music video that you saw really popped into my head. Gosh, how compelling is that, right? You see, I've said this before, but what I love so much about getting the opportunity to cover songs in different languages and enjoying music in another language is that it sort of takes on a meaning of its own. The nice part is that Kickback does have lyrics that I think I identify with quite a lot. But I had already finished the cover by the time I decided to check. To me, it had its own meaning purely based on what I heard in the music. So, from there, I went about, all of the sort of the usual processes, and it was around the time that I started working on, or rather, I asked Diego to start working on the soundtrack for the Demon Hungers that you are listening to at this very moment. It was around then that I asked him about the cover. My mic's gone? Am I alright? Is everything fine? I'll refresh. Okay, I'm good. Okay, good. Anyway. It was around when the Demon Hungers soundtrack was being worked on that I talked to Diego about wanting to cover this song, and that was where I met Unit Zero for the first time. He was his first thought, and from that sort of discussion, Unit Zero wound up working on some music in the Demon Hungers as well. What came first was his instrumental. And what I want to say first and foremost is that this project could never have happened if it were not for who Unit Zero is, and his absolutely remarkable talent. So the guitar that you heard in that song is not digital at all. He's playing that fast. He can do that. When I came to him with the instrumental, I basically said, listen, I want to try something a little unique. How about we try something like this? So I gave him, obviously, the original song, and then I said, how about this? And I showed him The Glory of Combat, which is my usual intro song, and I showed him, I believe, just as a point of inspiration, it was the remix of Kazuya Mishima's theme from Smash Ultimate, which, as you know, 2022, I was playing a lot of Smash back then. I still do sometimes. And I said, just see what that gives you as a bit of like a vibe check. And he came back with that instrumental basically fully formed. And it rips. It is insane how much he took that that prompt, that idea, and ran with the ball so effectively. I kind of couldn't believe how well he did. And then, of course, came Studio Yuraki and the music video. Now, the music video is incredible. And the fact is, I just saw that music video, the idea for it, and all of those different scenes popped into my head, and it was at a time in my life where I thought, well, I just have to do it, right? If I have this idea, I just have to do it. And so I'd heard good things about the studio, and I went and I spoke with them, and they were very eager to get started on it, and it went very, very well. Yeah, the animation is incredible. It took about 6 months for the animation to be completed. It may have been completed. They might, sort of be perfectly capable of working faster than that. There might have been, I can't really remember. There might have been some parts where they were sort of waiting on bits and pieces from me. And so the instrumental and the music video were actually complete a very long time ago. Originally, I actually wanted, my plan for a long time was actually to release that cover as a complete surprise after the Demon Hungers came out, like the next day. Which is hard to believe given that that was 2.5 years ago. But it was around that time that obviously I was going through a really sort of difficult personal time as a result of a lot of what you saw back then. This music video is very different in tone and in personality to the Demon Hungers. The Demon Hungers is all about regret. It's all about guilt, and this is all about determination and drive and grit. And suddenly when we got close, I just had this feeling of it felt like it wasn't the right time. And also, another thing, this song is fucking hard. Kenshi Unezu, I would hesitate to call him a demon, but that's the word that keeps popping into my head. The vocals on the original track are unbelievable, and the notes that you have to hit are very difficult. The fact is, at that time, I thought I'd practiced enough, but I hadn't. I was punished by my own hubris, getting so much work done on this song before I'd even really learned how to sing it properly. I'd given it a go, and I felt confident, but then when I really sat down and listened to it, I thought, it's not there yet. It's really not there yet. And so time just sort of went on, and the funny thing about when a creative project is complete, but oh my god, what the fuck? Must replace my cables. Pardon me. The funny thing about a project that stays where it is for a long time is that you, in a sense, kind of move on. I was very passionate about this project, and I felt very excited to get to work on it. I had all of these ideas for how I was going to work it into the flow of everything happening at the time. But then it didn't really feel quite right. And so then after that, very soon after the Demon Hungers, I was writing the script for my 3D debut, Minotaur, and that had a lot of music in it as well, and so that became my focus. And then after Minotaur, that was when we started working on the Luxiem 3D Mini Live, and then after that, obviously Overture was coming around. My life was filled with music commitments that I owed to other people, and so obviously they took priority. For a long time, this project just sort of sat where it was. And there are other reasons. I can't really speak too much on, but nothing serious. It's just, it certainly, it had a troubled production, not because of anyone who worked on it. Everyone who worked on this song has been incredible. amazing. Absolutely just above and beyond what anyone could have expected. It's just some admin things in addition to all the stuff I talked about. But then, this year, when I started having all of these experiences, I think, do you know what it was? It was the moment that I went back to Maine in America, and I had my altercation with that other voice demon, and I saw the pillar of human souls looking into the sky. I think that was the moment I realized I needed to get back into my night job. And that was the point where I thought, I think now is the right time. And so I sent Unit Zero a message right away, and I said, man, you know, a few years have passed, but we're finally in a position where I think we can do this. And I obviously had done a lot of singing by that point. In particular, I think that the biggest thing that helped me practice was my cover of King for Overture, which I'm sure a lot of you have really, really enjoyed. Mastering that grit was very challenging before, but I had to learn how to get that sort of thing down. And so I spoke to him and I said, let's really give this a try. So I need to be very, very clear when I say this. Unit Zero is an absolute miracle worker. He and I sat on call for hours and hours and hours, and I sung this song over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. He was dealing, when mixing this song, he was dealing with hours and hours of audio data from me. He was filtering through hundreds of takes, because what we sort of decided on is that we're in this position, right? The music video is done. All the permissions are all cleared up and everything's ready to go. The only thing left is for me to deliver the best performance that I can. But we sort of looked at it and I was like, man, there are some parts of the song that I think are so difficult. I don't know if I can get my voice in the right range for some of this. And so we kind of devised a little bit of a plan. What we did basically was every line, or almost every line, was recorded in the usual octave and then in the octave below. The usual key for kickback is very high, and it's not something that I can hit very easily, especially not when I'm projecting. And the lower octave I can hit very, very comfortably, but it can be sometimes difficult to project as much as you need to. So what we had was certain notes in the song worked very well in a higher octave, and certain notes worked very well with the lower octave. So by having these two tracks running simultaneously, what Unit Zero was able to do is to tactically swap between them or layer them together to the point where you wound up with this choral sound. And we began really on that idea after I first heard one of the first versions of the mix was the chant from the beginning. Doryoku, mirai, a beautiful star. Doryoku, mirai, a beautiful star. And I loved how it sounded like a sort of a cultist chant. And I thought, why don't we record just a ton of layers to this with different voices, different emotions, different tones. And we did that for a lot of lines in this. There are sort of backing tracks here where I'm not even, I'm just talking, I'm not even singing in key, I'm just sort of acting and speaking along with the lyrics to give them a little bit of extra heft, and taking all of that and condensing it all down to just the right level. Unit Zero made something like unbelievable. I remember the first couple versions of this, I was listening to it and thinking, man, this does sound good, but the one thing that's really missing is that my voice, in the first couple drafts, I was like, I'm not really hitting what I need to hit. I need to do a little better here. And so we probably had 4, maybe more recording sessions where he would sit there. And by the way, this man was sick. This man was ill. This man was recovering from a cold the whole time. And he was coaching me. He was there, rain or shine, any time of the day, making sure that he could be there to make sure I was in key, to make sure I was on time, keeping tempo and everything. He did so much to make this work the way it is. The first couple drafts that I heard, the chant sounded great, but then I thought I want to do more with the rest of the song, and I said, let's go for another one. Let's go for another one. And he was always down. He was always ready to go for another one. And in the end, it was when he sent me the version that you heard, I listened to it and I was like, holy fuck, I can't believe we did it. Because I was really worried. I was really worried that, you know, in my in the hubris that I used to have, just listening to this song and thinking, I can do that. Fuck it, man, let's do it. I can do that. My strategy for a long time has been to set a very, very high goal with a deadline, and to understand that, yeah, with that in place, by the time it comes around, you will lock in and get it done. But then this came around and I thought, I don't know if I can get it done. And it took so much work. It took so much, you know, real like practice. There are some, you know, some lines in this song that are way more difficult to sing than they sound. And I was kind of hit with a lot of that while we were recording. But Unit Zero, he was so patient. He was so understanding. He was there with his piano, giving me the right key every time. Like, you're almost there, you're almost there. And it was trial and error, just going through every little bit. And, you know, we would take each line, you know, not each line one line at a time, but sometimes it would be a whole verse. Sometimes it would be a whole chorus. Sometimes we would tackle one problem area one bit at a time. And we would loop that one section, and I would just sing 5, 10, 20, 40 times until we had something that was really good. And yes, it was hard work, but I can't imagine how much hard work it was for Unit Zero and how much he was working. So I have to say, please, if you're considering someone for a project, either similar in caliber to this or really anything musically, Unit Zero is absolutely one of the best people that you could choose to work with. And more than anything, he is it's just a really good friend. He's just been a really, really good friend throughout this whole experience. And I can't thank him enough for that. I really, really can't thank him enough. But yeah, that's sort of the story when it comes to the song's creation. And obviously, you know, the music video, you saw how much animation there was there. That kind of thing, it's not cheap to produce. What I saw when I commissioned the Studio Yoriki, who also incredibly friendly, wonderfully professional, such a delight to work with. When I commissioned them, I was aware that it would probably cost quite a lot, but even then, you know, I know that what I paid for this was absolutely worth the amount of work that the studio put in. It's just not. What's remarkable is that it's just not something I'd consider doing these days. I feel like at that point, when I first decided I wanted to do it, I was at such a younger and more, you know, I don't want to say naive. I think idealistic point in my career where I was like, I want to hold myself to a high standard, so this needs to be done, right? And so with that music video done, I just kind of knew, like, I have no choice. One day, this song will get made, and I'm so fucking happy that it is finally made, and I am so happy that it turned out as well as it did. I think that it is, I kind of think it's really good. I think it's so easy to sort of, you know, bashfully say like, oh, you know, we did our best and all of that. But listening back to it now, I'm like, I kind of think that we've really cooked. I think that this is really good. It's such a unique take on the song. And I'm really, really proud of it. I'm very, very happy with it. So, the story sort of in the music video that you see, what I really wanted to do, to me, what this is, it represents so many different emotions for me. It's all about being torn between two places, and it's all about having an image that's so fearsome and respected in a way, but also not really knowing how to live within it. To me, what it is that it represents moving forward in spite of what holds us back, and also doing so with a goal in mind, which made right now perfect. I mean, you see this outfit I'm wearing, those of you who might not have been here yesterday. I've decided that I'm going into professional demon slaying now, because I've had enough of being haunted and harassed by a lot of other demons who don't like me very much. I've decided that I'm just taking the fight to my ops. And to me now, I think that the song represents, it's almost a bit of a propaganda piece. It's almost trying to say not only that I'm out there and that I'm coming, but it also means, it's also kind of, it really gives a bit of credit to how much I sort of struggle with that. And I think that that does lend itself to making it a little bit intimidating at the same time. The battles that you saw there, there's nothing really specific, to be honest. Those fight scenes were mostly just sort of collections of old memories that I had. I couldn't really point to a specific time in history that those were trying to represent. I just think that when I think about fights that I've had, that imagery is a lot of what pops up. Ops in that MV were mostly humans. Well, you see, that's the thing. A lot of demons don't look like demons is the thing, but when this MV was made, it was really supposed to be, this was long before I decided that the demon slaying was going to be my way forward. I was mostly just thinking about, other things that I've done, because I've fought demons, but I've fought, powerful human beings with swords as well. It's not something that I like to do anymore. I try to avoid it if I can. But it's interesting how even through all this time passing, there's still a very relevant place for this. The story that I thought of years ago still applies to who I am and what I'm doing today in a really miraculous way. And I'm very lucky that my path in life has coincided with something that benefits from such an incredible display of strength. I really love the music video. And do you want to know something funny? So I have a little story for you. When I was first talking with Studio Yuriki and the other executive producer, Edward Kloss, we were going through the storyboard. And so there's the shot at the end of the bridge when I'm stabbed right through my stomach by this guy who's much bigger than myself, which has happened before. I'm stabbed through the stomach and lifted up, and then you sort of see the dagger that I'm holding on my belt, Chekhov's gun that was shown to you in the beginning, pulling that out as a sidearm and managing to get the better of him. Obviously then being able to take that soul and big up, and then getting to bring the fight to everybody else. The idea that I had, that you saw, was, getting the kill, falling to the ground, and then having the body of the victim, the guy I killed, kind of falling past the camera and obscuring my transformation. We sort of had to have this little conversation because they were saying, we're not sure how to stage this. If he falls to the ground, is he not just going to be blocking the camera? And then there's one point where they showed me a video of two those artist reference dolls, the pose references, the wooden dolls. They had two of those and then dropped one in front of the camera in front of another one. They're like, do you see what I mean? And I had this moment where I was like, I get it, but I think that we should just do it anyway. I think that we should do it anyway because this is the idea that I have, and I think it will look really cool. And I think it does, and I think they made it look incredible. To me, I don't know, when I'm thinking about shots, they kind of appear so fully formed in my head that it's really difficult to to reckon with the fact that there was like an element that I didn't really consider, or there's something about it that doesn't really track. And so sometimes I think, you know what, in this music video with how fast everything's moving, I think that the idea behind this shot, I think it's more important than everything making sense. I like that element of, it's the rule of cool. It's getting things in place so that, everybody's having a good time before you stop to think about the realism. And the great thing about Studio Yoriki is that they were so keen on listening. If I have this idea, I want to do it, and they say, well, let's do it then. There was no friction. There was never any friction. There was never any sort of, we can't do this, let's try this. It's basically, it was a really, really smooth process. And again, if you are looking into animation, I would really, really highly recommend those animators, that studio. They worked incredibly hard. And you see the credits. See the credits at the end of it. My God, a lot of people worked on that animation. As a matter of fact, actually, I remember them saying during production, when I went to them recently and said, guys, I'm really excited to say we're, finally in a place where we can release this. And Edward, he turned to me and he said the team was very, very excited because they were really proud of what they worked on, and they should be. I remember him saying during the early stages, he was like, this is probably going to be one of the most complex animations we've ever worked on. And I think there are some parts of this where that really shows. I think that my favorite, one of my favorite shots is the one with the fight that's set in the forest, sort of the Japanese-inspired forest with those other warriors, and you have that really fluid motion, the sword and all of those shockwaves coming out with the flipping and everything. It's very, it's great to finally show you a little bit of what it's of what I'm like when I like to fight people. I love to incorporate a lot of movement. I love to be a little bit unpredictable, and what can I say? I like to be flashy. Your image matters. It's very different from how I fight when I'm smaller, but I definitely feel more free when I'm fighting in my bigger body. I just want to take a moment because we've had some lovely super. I want to say a huge thank you. Kakaru Hong, thank you so much. Coco, thank you very much for the super. Seiten, Kakui, Kata, thank you so much for the super. Coco, thank you very much for the super as well. Lulu, thank you very much. Sequoia, thank you very much. Hinari, thank you for the 5 gifted. Hiyoko, thank you for the 5 gifted as well. Karos, thank you very much. Bluegrin, thank you for the 5 gifted as well. Kumaki, thank you very much. Huyu, thank you so much for the super. Glad you enjoyed. Coco, thank you very much. Soi, thank you so much as well. Jun Opa, thank you very much. My Kamiyoshi singing a song by Kenshi Yonezu, whom I've adored for over 10 years. Yeah, I mean, Kenshi Yonezu, incredible artist and so unique, and I just have always loved the sound of his voice. The funny thing for me is that I've listened to a fair bit of Kenshi Yonezu. I love, obviously, I was a part of Invanta's 3D debut. He did, what's that song? Sayonara Matai Taka, or whatever it is. I really enjoyed getting to have a dance along with Vanta to that song, and he did great covering that one. And then, of course, that I'm a big fan of Flamingo, which I sung in my outfit reveal last year. And I really, really enjoyed that one as well. I want to try singing that in the regular octave again, because I think maybe, I don't know, I might be getting better at kind of projecting a lot more in a lower octave. I think that during that karaoke, a lot of the songs I was relying on a deeper projection, and when I'm reading Japanese lyrics, I tend to feel very distracted. I think I'm putting so much focus on getting the lyrics right, because for me, reading romaji while singing is a bit of a challenge and takes a lot of repetition, a lot of practice. While I'm thinking about that, my mind sort of strays from projection, strays away from mouth shape, and I wind up sort of sounding a bit flat. But when I'm, you know, I mean, this song especially, I had the opportunity to practice these lyrics so much that I think I got, you know, I improved a lot. King as well on stage for Overture, I got a lot better at projecting in a lower register. But even in an octave down, King is so high pitched that even when singing an octave down, there were some notes I kind of struggled to hit and had to really, really push myself. You know, that's the great thing about Vocaloid, which I never thought I would say, is that so many of those songs are not really written with a human singer in mind. So when people do sing them on key naturally, it's very impressive. I'm blessed to work in NIJISANJI EN, where so many people can actually do that. It's always inspiring. Taroshi, thank you very much for the super. I'm glad that you really enjoyed it. Taroshi, thank you very much as well for another super. It's not my choice to live in this era, but if I had to choose, I would choose this one 100 times. Coco, thank you very much for the super. Jen, thank you very much. Okay, I love the song. Feeling emotional. I'm glad that you're feeling emotional. I was emotional this morning too. I couldn't sleep. I was up until like 3 a.m. last night. I couldn't sleep at all. I was so tired this morning. Just the tension, you know, knowing that this song that we had worked on for such a long time was finally complete. It was a really strange feeling. And I kept thinking back to those years ago when I first had the idea and then realizing, damn, it actually happened. We actually managed to get it done. And I just owe all of that to Unit Zero and to the animators. They worked incredibly hard. Everybody worked incredibly hard. Nade, thank you for the Aku Super. It shook my heart and soul so deeply that I still can't stop crying. Your voice, expression, and the world of the song resonated in a way only you could create. So clearly stay with me for the rest of my life. I'm glad you think so, Nade. I'm really, really glad you enjoyed it. And I'm glad that it could inspire you. And it just makes me feel good that the song works and that people really enjoy it. Because there was a long time where I wondered, you know, is this gonna work out? Am I gonna be able to pull this off? And we did. I needed help, but we did pull it off in the end. And I think it sounds pretty sick. I think it's pretty damn cool. Say thank you very much for the super. A beautiful star. And Duck, thank you. It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. Me babe, thank you for the Aku Super. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope you've been having a really, really wonderful time, and I'm glad you enjoyed the song. Coco, thank you very much as well. So, did you actually read Chainsaw Man? No, I've never seen it, or read it. But you know something? I've always admired it. I'm just terrible at getting around to things. And I think that I don't think that it's a bad thing, because these things take on a different meaning. I think that if I had watched all of Chainsaw Man before having the idea for this music video, maybe I would only be able to associate that song with Chainsaw Man. And then maybe that idea never would have popped into my head, and maybe I wouldn't have been able to make this brilliant song. It's like, you know, Werner Herzog? I love Werner Herzog. He's a brilliant filmmaker, documentary maker, grizzly man, all kinds of things. He's the guy from The Mandalorian who said, "I would like to seize the baby." He made a film adaptation of Bad Lieutenant. And the original Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel is a very iconic film. And he made sort of a remake. And people kept asking, so what's your relationship with the original film? And all he would say is, oh, I haven't seen it. He made a full budget adaptation of a film with Nicolas Cage in his one and Harvey Keitel in the original. He never even watched it. He just got the vibe and got started. A lot of people really like Werner Herzog's Bad Lieutenant. At some point, I definitely will watch Chainsaw Man, because I love, in particular, I've seen the music video for Kickback, and I love the movie references there, obviously. you know I love movies, and the film references in the intro are very, very good. The themes around the characters, I think, are very interesting to me. I love the idea of Denji as a character, but there's so much about Chainsaw Man that I don't know. So maybe we do have to do a watch-along. Maybe a Chainsaw Man watch-along is on the cards so that I can stop LARPing. But, you know, for me, I always say this. When, with Kickback, I hadn't seen the original show, and I don't speak Japanese, really. I didn't know what any of the lyrics meant. So to me, the song meant whatever I wanted it to mean, and my creativity could just run with the song. It could run with the music and with Kenshi Unezu's voice, even though I wasn't sure what he was intending to say. And I think that was all part of the experience. Sometimes I feel that the absence of knowledge can create, it frees you in a way. Sometimes not knowing and trying something entirely original is really important. There's this unfortunate trend in fandom at the moment that, you know, when someone makes a film adaptation of a beloved property, there's a huge pressure from a lot of very vocal fans to say that the person making this adaptation, they have to be a fan. They have to know what the fans want. But sometimes what the fans want isn't what's best for the project. And I'm not saying that a Chainsaw Man fan couldn't do an incredible cover of Kickback, because I'm sure many, many, many hundreds of them have made beautiful covers of the song. But I think for me, coming in with the VTuber industry in general, I was brand new to it. There was so much I didn't know. When I first debuted, I didn't know what an Oshi mark was. I thought it was like a cutie mark from My Little Pony, and I had to ask, what the hell is an Oshi mark? There's so much that I've learned, but I think coming in as an outsider and bringing that perspective has, I think, made my creativity sort of stronger. I feel like I'm not really held down by a community that has, you know, a lot of traditions and rules. I think that being aware of those traditions and knowing where to follow them and where to challenge them is very, very important. I love to challenge the norm. I love to do things that are a little bit different, which is why both of the cover songs on my channel now, New Sidonia and Kickback, are vastly different from the original songs. But the original versions are both songs that I really desperately love. Yana, thank you so much for the super. I'm glad you feel proud of me. I feel lucky too. I feel very lucky. Yaknaka. Quote, thank you so much for the super. There is no way that a Vox Akuma should be able to fly. That's why I call it a propaganda piece. You see, normally, there have been times when I've been able to get a few seconds of sustained airtime for a while. But usually when I fly, I'm not really that graceful. Let me show those of you who might not be aware, even though, you know, in the song I had my big wings out. You see these? You see these? Well, the fact is they're very strong, but they're quite thin in a way. And what this means is that sustaining a glide or staying in the air is quite difficult. When I fly, it's more like a Hulk jump. I sort of flap them towards the ground very fast, and then it creates a little bit of a boom, and I sort of get a really, really good amount of lift, but then I quickly come down, so I'm just kind of falling and then readjusting, and falling and readjusting, and just boom, boom, boom. It makes me unpredictable, but it does mean I've had a fair few head-on collisions in my life, and those I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at it. It's like, you know, I'm like Buzz Lightyear, right? This isn't flying, this is falling with style. So I say thank you very much for the super. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Mirei, thank you very much. ZK, thank you. I'm glad that you think it's really cool. Very lively, thank you so much for the super. I love you too. Wednesday, thank you so much, Mom Bebe. At first, I thought you chose Kickback because the Chainsaw Man is the story based on demons and devils, but do you have any thoughts? Well, from what I've heard, there's a lot about Chainsaw Man that I think I would really like. Not just the theming around demons, devils, and so on, but also I think a lot of what I've heard about Denji as a character. I really like narratives about characters where we can kind of... There's a bit of a puritanical bit going on in the cultural zeitgeist at the moment that I'm finding a little bit exhausting. I very much enjoy characters who just say what they're thinking out loud. I like how he's so... Well, he just wants to squeeze a pair of titties. I think that's cool. I think it's cool that a character... It's like anime has a reputation, at least in the West, there's a bit of a reputation for anime, ecchi anime, for example, of it being a bit, what's the anime doing this time? But, I think that Chainsaw Man, from what I have seen of it, I think it explores that in a very fascinating way. As someone who, I feel is... as someone who, I feel like I relate to Denji in being a very powerful demon who is somewhat easily manipulated, I think, in some instances. I'm very emotional. But, maybe that makes me more dangerous in my own way. So I'd like to check it out. I really would like to watch it at some point. It's been a long time since I watched an anime, period. I think what was the last full anime that I watched to completion? I think, oh my god. Do you want to know something? I think the last time I watched an anime all the way from start to finish, I think it was before I even joined NIJISANJI. I think that I remember watching Darling in the Franxx while I was getting 99 rune crafting, while I was at university. And then after that, I tried to watch ReZero, but I sort of stopped halfway through the first season. And the thing is, I used to love anime. I used to watch a lot of it. My favorite is Code Geass. I've seen Death Note 3 times. I showed it to both of my parents, and they both loved it. My dad really loves Death Note. He thinks Death Note is brilliant. And I watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood with my mum. That's a great one. I think I watched Mirai Nikki. I remember what it is. I think Joey, the anime man, sent me a DM a long time ago and said, would you mind making an anime list and sending it to me? We're going to rate it. And I remember giving Mirai Nikki an 8 out of 10, but I don't actually think I ever finished watching that show. I think I maybe got the name confused with something else. Obviously, you've got the classics, I have a bit of a basic, anime repertoire. I saw Elfen Lied, I really liked, obviously loved the music. And the first anime that I ever watched was Steins Gate, actually. The first anime I ever watched was Steins Gate. I went to a friend's house, and they said, I've been watching this show, and it was us, he didn't have a TV, so it was myself and 4 other guys just crowded, in his bedroom, just crowded around a laptop, watching Steins Gate. And the funny thing about Steins Gate is the first 12 episodes are really slow. They're great, but it takes a long time to kind of get going. So I remember feeling like, man, I don't really know how to feel about this. And then he was like, wait, no, come on, we're going to watch this next one. And then we watched the episode where everything kicks into gear, and I was like, and that's why everything worked, because it spent the time to set up all those characters. And obviously, Hunter x Hunter is the longest anime I've ever seen. Hunter x Hunter 2011. Love that. I remember I watched Hunter x Hunter when I got a new phone contract. I remember at the time I upgraded. That was when it was 2014. I remember this very vividly. And up until that point, because I'm old, right? Up until that point, I had been using a brick phone. I went from the flip phone to a Nokia brick phone that I'd had up until 2014. And then finally I thought, oh God, all these QR codes everywhere. Okay, I'll get a smartphone. Fine, I'll get a smartphone. And so then I got my first smartphone, which unfortunately was not an iPhone. It was not an Android. It was a Windows phone. Sorry, my mic's freaking out again. Jesus. Oh God, sorry. Sorry about that. Jesus, I really have to get this. This mic is falling apart. This mic is coming to pieces. I got a Windows phone. And it was on that Windows phone. When I got my SIM card from Vodafone, they said, okay, so you're going to have 2 months of unlimited data. And I was like, 2 months of free data? No limit. All right then. And then every time I was traveling, every time I went anywhere, I got on my Crunchyroll and I watched a new episode of Hunter x Hunter, and it was basically just every day, on my commute, I was just watching Hunter x Hunter, and I got through so much of it that way, using all of that, really using all of that free data they gave me. So I love that, and I've got a funny story. I've been going on a bit. I've got a funny story about a friend of mine, right? Friend of mine, I was trying really hard to get into Hunter x Hunter, and this guy, he loves ecchi anime. He's watched so much of it. He's that guy, right? Like, he is the pervert character from the anime. And I love him because I know that this is just like, it's allowed. You can do whatever you like. But that was this guy. I'm not kidding when I say that he stopped watching Hunter x Hunter during the Chimera Ant arc, right before the final battle of the Chimera Ant arc. He stopped watching to rewatch High School DxD for the 3rd time. Just in case you need to wonder the kinds of people that I hang out with. Yes, what a decision to have made. But, you like what you like. That same group I watched Steins Gate with, I remember they tried to get me to watch High School of the Dead as well, and I was like, something doesn't feel right about this. I will say the animation is very impressive. Anyway. Ichiko, thank you very much for the super. I'm so glad that you had fun and that you enjoyed it. Wolflout, thank you very much. Lily, thank you so much. Me babe, thank you for another Aku super. You are so, so kind. Thank you. Thank you. Luna, thank you very much for the super. Yeah, big well done to the whole team. Everybody pulled out all the stops. Kairos, thank you very much for the super as well. They look very pretty and usable as a blanket to wrap yourself in. Sadly, not really. If you were small enough, you could probably fit between, those black stalks, but they're quite tough and hard, not very soft. So if I wrap myself up, I tend to just, if I tried to sleep on my side like I usually do, then I kind of just bump into it. So yeah, sleeping with these things is a bit of a challenge. I usually have to turn into a bit of a front sleeper when I have these wings, but it's occupational hazard, I guess. Sabina Kari, thank you for the Agu Super. You did amazing. Thank you for all of your hard work. Thank you so much. Endlessly proud of you, dear my lord. Thank you. I'm really, really glad that I could have made you proud. I love you too. Yukimi, thank you very much. I'm really glad you thought so. It felt like music transcending language. Listen, I know that you're a Japanese viewer learning English still, but that is a very impressive sentence. Music transcending language. Transcending. Excellent word. Well done. Well done. That is an excellent word. And I guess that is kind of what I was aiming for, is to transcend language, because it's a strange thing when you're a part of this huge community. Nijisanji is such a big deal. As someone who struggles to learn new languages a lot of the time, what I wind up with is this, I do feel a bit separated from people sometimes. But I think getting to connect with people from all audiences, through a song like this, it does make me very, very, very proud. So thank you for that. That's a very, very kind thought. Faith, thank you so much for the super. Singing along. Oh, that's cute. I'm so glad you were. Me, babe, thank you for a third Aku super. A third one. Thank you. Mwah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you so much. Thank you. Misty, what if we did a watch along? I'm going through old too. I'm assuming this is about Chainsaw Man. Yeah, you know, we could. Jenny, thank you so much for the super. The instrumental was amazing. Animation was incredible. Everything was peak. You and your team did that. Yeah. We become the beautiful star together, right? I mean, I think that, you know, up until recently, I didn't know what doryoku mirai. I know mirai meant future. I didn't know what sort of together doryoku mirai, a beautiful star, meant. But a beautiful star to me, you know, I think maybe it's about the soul. As you know, as I've sort of described, a human soul sort of looks like a, you know, a glowing ball of light, and a demon's soul is a very dark absence of light. But if you look closely, you can see inside of it the specks, tiny white specks that are the human souls trapped inside, and it looks like the galaxy. It looks like outer space when you peer into it. And so maybe together, you know, the people, the souls that I'm rescuing from other demons, we become sort of a beautiful, you know, a beautiful star together. Lava, thank you for the super. More covers and more originals. I have been thinking about it. You know, there are a couple more covers that I have under my belt. One of them is a duet that I'm planning. That's been in the works for a while, but that I would like to release hopefully this year. And that's a song that I feel with a little bit of practice I can probably sing decently well. That's a song that I'm quite confident I can do a good job of. And then there's another one that I have done, and this is actually a song that was supposed to be, this is another one that is unreleased, I suppose. This is another one that I wrote into the script for my 3D debut for Minotaur. And there was supposed to be a point where it would, you know, another scene would play out with this cover song in it, in addition to all of the original songs in there. But we got close to it, and not only did, even with all of the time that we had to film, we didn't have time to shoot that one scene, and I thought the story's still intact without it. Let's, you know, that can be a deleted scene. Let's move ahead. But the main thing, I can't sing that song. My hubris when I decided to try and I decided to put it in the script must be studied, because it is very hard. I'm going to need a lot of practice before I get a chance to release that one. You know, again, with Kickback, it's great because this is a song that with a lot of effort, even though it's very difficult, with the right mixer and with the right ideas, the creative ideas to kind of get it where it needs to be, I can, you know, get up to that challenge. But this other song that was supposed to be in Minotaur, there is vocal stuff in there that I simply have not even begun to understand how to do, and that I need to practice for a lot. But that will come. You know, we've now actually since had the opportunity to shoot everything for it, so all of the music video is done as it would have been in Minotaur when it was coming out. I just need to get my ass in gear and learn how to do whatever the fuck that is. But it's going to be great. I think you're going to really like it. Fern, thank you so much for the super. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. Coco, watch One Piece. I don't know if I have the time to watch One Piece, but I will say I do love seeing the odd clip of the animation posted somewhere. A lot of people like to show examples of the animation in the recent episodes of One Piece. It's very impressive stuff. It's very, very impressive. Snowada Starura. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. It's lovely to see you again. How are you? I don't know if you thought about it. Is there a possibility of what happens in the cover connected to the Requiem debut video? Well, this music video was conceived a long time. This music video was scripted before I had even met any of the other members of Requiem. Crisis debuted in the middle of 2023, right? I think that I had fully commissioned and sent and submitted the script a little bit before Crisis debuted. So Requiem is very much very much different. Everything from there, really, what I wanted to do was to show sort of the struggle that I take part in throughout all of history. It's the fact that in the past I was there, you know, as this sort of towering presence and needed to fight and kill to stay alive. And then you see that, you know, the years going by. I really, one thing that I really insisted on was that the counter that shows the years ticking up, I needed for it to go past the current year. Because not only if it stopped at 2026, then it would sort of be quite dated, but also I was sort of trying to imply that it's very much not done, and that if I've lived this long already, then surely I will live that much time all over again, and more again forever. So it's sort of a, you know, it's a summary really of what my life has really been like, and in a way, yeah, I like to think of it as a propaganda piece. And by the time, you know, Demon Hungers came out and I was feeling so much guilt and I was feeling so much regret, releasing a music video with footage of me killing a load of people, it really just didn't feel appropriate anymore. I think before the Demon Hungers came out, I was really only thinking about one thing, and that was, what will the kindred love to see? What are they going to think is cool? And that's kind of where everything came from at that time. All I was thinking was, they're going to love that. Oh, they're going to love that. They're going to love that. And I got to a point where I really disregarded myself. I disregarded what it was that I wanted to show. I'm so glad, though, that I'm now at a point where I really do want to share all of that, you know? Because now that warning applies to some people who really deserve it, and isn't just some senseless violence. Coco, thank you for the super. Koopa, it's called a Nokia 3310 because that's the year it's supposed to break down. There's nothing wrong with durability. Akuma, thank you. Kickback is my favorite song. Wow. Wow, I'm so glad. What a coincidence, right? I'm really, really glad that you enjoyed it so much. Keen on out, thank you. First ever super chat. Thank you for bringing us so much fun. Your kickback animation, your singing voice are wonderful. Daisuki. I can't read the kanji there, but it's always a good opportunity to learn a little something. Hold on. 本当にいつもありがとう。ありがとうございます。Lynn, thank you so much for the super. Absolute Cinema. Wednesday, thank you. So you tend to like biblical essence anime, isn't it like that? I like old Japanese instruments in today's cover. You have parts that you were particular about. Well, a lot of the inspiration came from a rearrangement of Kazuya Mishima's theme as a point of inspiration, and obviously there's a lot of traditional Japanese instruments there. So I know Unit Zero would have taken inspiration from that. I think it's great how there's an emphasis on those instruments in the first half, which is set in Japan during sort of the first couple of hundred years of my time on Earth, and then towards the end it kind of goes deeper into that metal angle when we, you know, venture further into the future. Pinky, are your horns sensitive like before? A little. A little. Naku, thank you. Only thing I can say is Tasukaru. I'm glad that you've been saying Tasukaru. That's all I want to make you feel. Naka, thank you. One of my favorite. Oh, for God's sake! This stupid thing! Stupid fucking thing. I nudge it and it just starts going insane. God damn. I've got to get this cable out of my fucking face. Anyway, sorry about that. What made you choose Kickback specifically? Well, that was it. I listened to the song, the music video popped into my head, and I thought, I have to do it. That was literally it. I didn't know anything about Chainsaw Man. I didn't know anything about what the lyrics were actually trying to say. I just loved the sound of the song. I love Kenshi Unezu's voice, and then I pictured this music video, and I was like, well, you know, I was at a point in my career where, you know, I was like, well, I just have to do it, right? At the time, there was no reasoning with it, which is, I think it's interesting to look back at that and to really think about how, yeah, if I had released it when I originally planned to, I think the emotional whiplash would have been very confusing for people. It's very different in tone to the Demon Hungers, and that, you know, what I thought about was to do the, you know, before we had that, you know, stream The Truth, where I, you know, burst in and was halfway through transforming and was just berating myself. There would have been a traditional after party, and my idea was that at the end of that after party, just like I did at the end of the outfit reveal we did the other day, would have shown that exact clip with that exact piece of music. That was always the idea. And I think that, you know, if I had kept going with that, it just would have felt very weird. So that's, I think, what's kind of brilliant is that without intending to, something that I made, you know, and I worked on with a huge team of people before, purely out of a desire of, they're gonna love this. That was all I was thinking. Well, I've had this idea, I've got to do it now, let's do it, let's just run with it. Going from that mindset to nowadays, suddenly arriving at a time when my mind feels more aligned with the content of the music video and the song, it's kind of a miracle, really. I'm just really, really glad that everybody got a chance to see it, and that we've had such a packed week, you know? Puzzles, new fit, all of that. It's brilliant. It's so great. Angie, thank you for that. Akuzupa. Like your new outfit. Thank you. I'm glad you do. Let's do a little flyover once again. Hold on. Let me just swap over real quick. Wait a minute, where am I? Ah! Where did I go? Where did I go? There it is. Bop! There I am. Anyway, just in case you've forgotten, this is most of what I got. Doryoku Mirai, a beautiful sword. Coco, thank you. Surely have the time to watch it someday. Yeah, one day I'll get around to it. Garako, thank you. Fangs in the new outfit, I love it. You really think so? Thank you for the super. Yujigwa, thank you. Yujugwa. Happy birthday. I hope you have a lovely birthday, okay? I'm so glad that you're a kindred too. Yuting. Would it be difficult to manage long hair if you had horns growing on your head? Well, the funny thing is that my hair and horns sort of grow together. My hair gets longer when I transform, and so they always work out. I think the hair usually parts and allows the horns to grow through. It's sort of in the way that flowers can break through concrete, you know? There's never really they don't break through the hair, it just sort of slips through a lot of the time. Or maybe it does. I mean, let me tell you, horns as big as these growing out of your head as quickly as they do, it is very, very painful. It is very, very painful. Transforming will never not be painful, and I accept that. I've done it enough now that I don't really, you know, I'm not really afraid of that anymore, but yeah, it hurts bad. But usually the adrenaline kind of takes care of it a little bit. You know, I mean, look at these. These just spring out of my back. They have to come from somewhere. Just blood everywhere. This is why I have to have a. This is why I have to have a cleaner, because I mean, you know, I usually don't get. I get a cleaner for the other stuff because I spend so much of my time cleaning up blood where I've had a transformation. But thankfully, it doesn't happen quite so often. Afra, thank you. I like the power and emotion in your voice, always piercing the heart. I'm glad you think so. Tsukino, thank you for the super. Zutto daisuki desu. Oh, that's so cute. You're only fighting your ops. You don't want to kill all demons. No, I do. I do. To kill all demons is a very tall order. There are quite a lot of them. But if I had the choice, if someone said, hey, there's a button here that will get rid of them all, well, obviously, I guess that would include me. But, you know, that would be the goal. I don't think I should ever discriminate unless I'm extremely confident that the demon I'm dealing with does actually have empathy and a heart. Like, I hope I do. You know what I'd like to do? Why don't I get the music video on screen on mute, and we can kind of go through it. We can kind of go through it and check out some of the different parts of it. So let me go ahead and I'm quickly gonna just make sure all of the system sounds are all muted so I don't accidentally play the sound, because obviously, you know, there's all sorts of rules about that, but the music video is fine to show. Why don't we go through and I'll sort of talk a little bit about some various parts of it. I think that might be good fun. It's the live action. Oh, that's true. Maybe I could watch One Piece live action. Yeah, maybe I could. So it'd be la-da-da-da-do. La-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Where is it? Yes, there we are. There we are. Okay, and what I'm gonna do, so all the sounds are off, that's fine. Okay, so I hide it and then I make sure that it's muted. Yes. Okay, there we go. There it is. The sounds are not off. Oh, oops. I did everything in my power. I did everything in my power to remove the sounds. I did everything in my power to remove the sound. It's okay. I can edit that out. I can edit that out in the VOD. That was, you know, not my intention. Strange. Anyway. Riet, thank you for the super. Glad you enjoyed it so much. Zutto daisuki desu. And Sweden, thank you for the super. Yeah, I'm glad I kept working hard. I love you too. Love you so much. All right. Let's have a little play-by-play. Let's look through this, shall we? Hello. So this scene is great. I think this is probably the first one that I thought of. I don't really know where, like, I guess a lot of this might have come from my, you know, the memory of my remember I told you all about that cult of mine the other day. Well, the story behind that, I think that a lot of the motifs here are very, very similar. I think that what I wanted to do was just sort of, you know, present myself as a little bit of an unfortunate hero, a hero that's like technically kind of doing some good things, but is also only really doing so out of a necessity and out of a personal guilty obligation, and often doesn't do the right thing. 1940, it was before the Second World War, so it would have been the mid to late 1930s. But yeah, let's keep taking a look. I just think it's so brilliantly done. The team, they just went off. They went off so hard. I never really thought about how in this part it's sort of, it's, you know, it's panning down to show my hair growing, but you do also get, the intention was to show the hair growing and also to show what you have here, the Chekhov's gun, the knife, the dagger, which isn't something I normally use. I have done for sort of brief periods of time, just little bits and pieces, but it tends not to be. To be honest, this knife is here because I had the idea for that shot later on, and I thought that a sidearm was the perfect way to accomplish like a fight like that. So this was the way of not creating an inconsistency. And you know, if you show a weapon in the first act, the weapon has to get used in the third act, and you know that's you know. So that's how, you know, very simple stuff. That's how Chekhov's gun works. And there's my big ass. Wings pop out of my back. So yeah, if you ever doubt that it's painful, just look at that, right? Boom. Hurts. Blood everywhere. Yeah, and then we have this whole sort of slow burning intro with standing on a mountain of bodies. Good lord. Good lord. Thinking about back then, you know, because I was still concerned about all of that guilt and I was still thinking about it, but at the same time there was this just part of my mind that was like, I just want them to think I'm, you know, cool. I just, you know, I was like, well, this is who I am. This is what I've done. I feel like given the amount of sort of fan stuff that was, you know, there was a lot of fan art of me being a bit of a psycho. I thought, well, this will go down well, right? This will be, you know, a good idea. But yeah, one leg up, one leg down. Brilliant pose. You just, you know, you got to do that. Angelia, thank you for that Akusupa, by the way. Thank you so much. Seeing you get hurt in that cover broke my heart. No, it's fine. It's fine. Because I will always be here. Taskaru. Aini. Mwah. And yes, I will marry you. Wallflower, thank you for the super. Oh, that's very sweet of you. I'm glad you think so. I really love this shot. This was a very specific sort of idea that I had with the, you know, ironically, it's funny, I remember my thought process at the time being like, this is a way of making it simpler. This is a way of keeping the animation somewhat simple so that it's not, you know, super demanding all the way through. But, you know, looking back, it's like, yeah, this is still some complicated stuff. You know, sort of having the still, you know, the sort of still pose and then the zoom out, almost like this diorama of mercenaries and soldiers, and you know what I'm implying are also demons in disguise. Just a whole load of people who've, you know, heard about what happened at the castle, or maybe this happened before, maybe it happened after. I'm enjoying keeping this vague. I'm enjoying keeping it less as a telling of a specific story, and it's more a tapestry of this difficult side of my life. Really, it shows you the general picture. Yeah, you pull that out. Boom. And then we have the impact frame. So yes, those of you who watched my cheeky little one-song karaoke where I sang In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, which is still one of the funniest ideas I've ever had. Yes, you'll be pleased to know that I did not commission all of those frames of animation just for a single blink and you'll miss it moment in an unarchived stream, because I am not that reckless with my finances. I just don't think that would really be worth it. No, they were stills that I took from, they were very short, sped up clips of some of the parts from the fights in this music video that I edited and hid to give you guys a little bit of a cryptic teaser. Yes. And now for Perm's reading. There you go, right? So I really like that. So basically what I needed for the fight scenes was some references and things to show the animators, like this is kind of what I would like to, this is what I'd like to show. So, for example, this little move I'm doing here, I do this. This is one of my favorite little ones to do. It's a great kind of, in Smash they call it a get off me move, right? Where I sort of take the sword, and even though it's very long, I'm able to hold this one in my one hand. I mean, blessed with some pretty superior strength while I'm this big. What you can do is sort of twirl it around to kind of create an area of denial. And as it turns out, the 3 big spins, and then try to take that momentum and bring it into something big. Those of you who've played, anyone who's played Nioh 2, any Nioh 2 players, in order to show the reference, I thought back to playing that game, and I remembered the boss fight with Magara Naotaka, where he does pretty much that exact thing, and I was like, I do that. And so I thought, okay, well, great. That's just a clip of, that's a reference that we can use to give them some inspiration. And so I showed them that, and I thought, like, this is a great move to show off, and that's exactly what they did. Just these big, like, get away from me, and then bringing the sword down to the ground. And this is, took some really interesting creative liberties with this one. You can do, with a weapon that's this sharp and this thin, just this sharp, you are able to do some pretty wicked things when it comes to cutting up the air around you. Now, a lot of these red lines are really sort of stylistic. They're sort of there to make sure that you are recognizing what's going on screen. But, it's not impossible. It's a lot to do with the way that light gets redshifted with, to be honest, I don't really understand the science of it personally, but I know something about redshift sometimes means that there's a lot of red light. So I said, all right, let's amp that up. Let's amp that up and really make that something that the audience can really, really see very, very clearly. Yeah, this is a great shot. Sort of, creating a big area of denial, split up that team, and then be able to take them on by one. Maria Raid, come on in. I'm just breaking down the MV now. Thank you so much. Look, good to see you, Maria. Good to see you, Maddie Pets. Angelia, thank you. Xiaoha Dashang. Woda Dashang. I saw the little hearts on the live reactions part of chat coming up for a second. I thought it was an insect on my screen. I've got paranoid for a second. I'm not afraid of insects. I'm a warrior. Look at me. Anyway. Zoom. And then this, without a doubt, this is the Studio Yoreki cooked so much here. I mean, the fluidity and the motion on this cut is so brilliant, and I love showing off this style of fighting. How having wings and that little bit of extra lift just gives you so much freedom, so much momentum to try not only and avoid damage, but apply it in some very creative and fun ways. They say that, sword fighting is like a dance. I think that when I'm fighting in my smaller body, I tend to be very different. I'm very defensive. I tend to just sort of stand still and wait for my opponent to make a mistake, which is a lot of... It's like... You can almost see this reflected, both styles sort of reflected in the way I play chess, in a way. Because I feel like my very unprofessional, not so great chess style is creating a pretty solid defense and then suddenly bursting out with a really aggressive mating attack. I think that's kind of what it's like for sort of spread across both the different styles. But yeah, we just gotta watch this. Doryoku mirai, beautiful star. Doryoku mirai, beautiful star. Isn't that just fucking spectacular? Oh my god. The thing about frame by frame animation is it works so beautifully while you're watching it. And then, as I have done, when you slow it right down and you really filter through and you go frame by frame and you remember, yeah, every frame of this music video was drawn by an artist by hand. And that, it boggles the mind. You know, all of this, you have everything that make, you know, all the principles of animation. You have momentum, smear frames, whoopa! This is one of my favorite things to do, you know, really getting the ride forward, carrying that momentum, and then when you take the hit, you sort of jump back, and a little bit of the shockwave from the impact, that gives you a little bit of extra lift. There's so much that you can do, and it really, I don't know what it is, it comes to you. It's like a dance sometimes, but this style of fighting, it's more like I'm at the circus. No, not really. Circus acts are rehearsed. What is it like? It's, you know, it's more like improv. I'm just kind of, it's, you know what it is? It's jazz. This is jazz fighting. This is, you're getting in there with a load of people with a load of different instruments, and everybody's trying to do their own thing, and you're saying, okay, what can I do to do something a little crazy and come out on top? And you will inevitably, if you play the saxophone enough, you'll come out with something that you never thought you could do. And there are a load of moves that I can do that I never thought I could do before. You just kind of do them. In a survival situation, the body, it just does these things. It's so fascinating to see frame by frame, like bang, you know, such a quick little transition there. Really sort of flip around and like that. In animation, it's one of the things that annoys me about some critics of animation, when they'll slow it right down and they'll screenshot like one specific frame and say, look at this. And it's like, yeah, the thing about animation is that it's not meant, you're not meant to go to an art museum and look at one frame of a fight scene and then say, well, that's not very good, because it's designed to exist as a part of a whole. I especially, one of my favorite films of all time, I very much feel this way about The Last Jedi, and a lot of the complaints about the choreography in the Red Throne Room fight scene, because when you slow it down, you can see like a few things that don't look entirely accurate, but during that scene, no one is looking at the random red guys off in the corner. Your eyes are focused on the center. So to have this free-flowing, complete one-take bit with all of this fighting going on, where you're focused on the story and the characters and what's happening in the center of the screen where the action is, I don't think it particularly matters all that much whether there's a little bit of inconsistency. It's a show. You're watching a film. Boop. I love this. Vah! And there you have it again. There you have it again. Riding that backwards momentum. Fum! Zoom. So good. So good. And this stuff again, it's all about the speed of the swing and bringing the voice into it just a little bit. I mean, obviously that's a, you know, kind of a me thing. But by being able to bring a lot of that impact into it, you can really start to have, you know, the sword becomes more of a ranged weapon, you know? You have a lot more flexibility in what you're able to try and accomplish in a fight, and I really like being able to sort of get creative with it. That's why I love that new mask I've got so much, because it gives me a lot more freedom and flexibility. Usually, you know, especially modern day, if you only have a melee weapon, you're at a massive disadvantage, and you need to figure something out for that. Zoom, ride that momentum back, and then jump straight back up. I'm right back into it. Hop into the air. Yeah, everyone's talking about my arch. Yes, and? Yes, and? Does this intimidate you? Does this intimidate you? Back, and then I'm back up again. Vroom! This is my favorite flip to do. Look at this. Just, oh my god. I love that momentum. The selection of frames here is so... You look gay? Correct. The selection of frames here is so perfect. It's so perfect. Like this, it creates the perfect illusion of that momentum. It's really, I'm right in the middle of the screen, and then I turn and I'm out of there. I'm out of there. Shum. It feels so fast. It feels so fluid and brilliant. I saw this. Thank you, Warfire, for this reply. Landing and bang. Incredible. There's so much detail in these blink and you'll miss it frames. So much time is taken to make sure that all of these, you know, even though one frame of animation isn't supposed to be viewed in isolation, there's still, that detail is still there. You can still look at them in isolation and admire them for what they are. And I mean, it's still, the detail, the lining is still very much there. Omae wa mou shinderu. Nani? I mean, do you remember what I told you about how I sort of like, I do like a sort of a big jump, right? When I'm trying to fly. It does work somewhat horizontally as well to create some really, really fast forward momentum. Now, this is a little bit dramatized, but this is a very easy way of beheading somebody. Watch this. Boom. Did you catch that? Did you catch that? There it goes. Yeah, there's the idea that you leave someone alive so that they have the chance to go back and tell a scary story about you. It's kind of overrated. I think a lot of the time they just sort of act like they beat you. Or that they were more, you know, they were sort of more powerful than their friends. And yeah, you know, got bro's head. Very cool. Very, very cool. Ching. And in this shot, I remember there was a lot of sort of discussion about, because this was the idea. The idea was, you know, at the time, I was still thinking about the relationship between, you know, between my sort of this duty and my you know, personal obligation to keep eating to stay alive. And then also with a lot of the guilt associated. So what I like so much about this little part is the fact that we've seen, you know, all of this is really cool. It's very compelling. It's really action-packed, and it's great fun to watch. It's a great showcase of, you know, a lot of the stuff that I like to do. Oh, by the way, you know, more references needed. What I thought was a really great reference for this style of fighting was some of the moves that Malekith does in Elden Ring. I saw that and I thought that's a really, really great one to show. Because at the time, you know, I hadn't been in this form for quite a long time. You know, I had been very sensible, and so transforming and performing this sort of stuff just for a reference, it really wouldn't have been viable for me. And so I was playing a lot of games, looking at a lot of cutscenes and thinking where comes in sort of the inspiration, what can I do to show these animators what I mean, and you know, and they sort of really took the ball and ran with it. It's very, very cool. See my reflection, and then there's this sort of grimace, you know. All of this from the first half of being so proud and powerful, and then actually seeing the reflection, seeing this, you know, familiar face, and being reminded of what, you know, of what I feel is so wrong about me. And then sort of, you know, throwing their heads straight into the puddle to try and obscure it. This is an idea I had for a long time, and I remember it was very tricky to get the timing down on this, but they tried really hard. It's funny, there were a couple times where the animators sort of said, we're not really sure how we can make this work timing-wise. And I looked at my script that I had written with, like, I had a description of kind of which shots I wanted to see from which second to which second. So I said, from second, you know, well, this is 1:15, right? So I'd say, okay, from 1:12 to 1:15, this is what's happening. And they probably looked at that and thought, like, That's not a lot of time to do that whole sequence, but they made it work. They worked around my ideas in a really brilliant way. I mean, all I did was I sat down with all these ideas swimming around in my head, and I thought, this is what I want to do. And to the absolute best of not only of their incredible abilities, as you can see, but also what's possible within the medium. They did, everything to bring those ideas to life, and it was, it's once in a lifetime to get to see something like this. It's really, really incredible. And you keep moving, and it's funny, when I came up with this idea, and I started working on this, I hadn't seen the original music video for Kickback. I had only ever listened to it via something like Spotify. I didn't know that there was a huge theme in the original Kickback music video about working out and getting huge. And so it's kind of really fitting that it is kind of almost the theme song now, this version of it anyway, for my bigger self, and staying determined to keep doing what I need to do. And also getting ripped. Fits a little too well. I guess it's one of those things where, I just know. It's fate. It was fate to do a cover of this song, I guess. And I remember there was this is where something was changed in the animation, because I needed to, so originally the way this was animated was I gracefully sort of flew upward, like quite slowly, and so I needed to kind of say, that's not really how I fly. When I fly, it's one big wing beat, and then I'm out of there. It's not very graceful at all. It's very aggressive, and so they took that and there I go. So similar to the Demon Hungers, now we have this timer that takes us all the way through the years from the 1600s all the way up to modern day and beyond. That part is incredibly important, sort of showcasing, you've seen what happened back then. Well, it has happened, and it has been happening. And you see, what they've done very cleverly is used some frames from earlier in the project and splash them in throughout different parts of the timer to sort of imply, this kind of thing very much still going on and was happening throughout all of those years. But now we're going to go to some point, some city, some place, somewhere in that time. And oh my God, the backgrounds work. I really want to call out the backgrounds work. I mean, look at this. Shout out to all of the backgrounds they were doing. Really, really impressive stuff. They shared a lot of the process for me with how they did the backgrounds, and it's very, very impressive. I mean, this to me, it's like, it's so brilliant. Like, this to me looks like a shot from a real anime, and seeing all of this come back and getting to see it come to life with an idea that I was so passionate about. Again, an experience unlike anything else. It was very, very beautiful to get to experience. And there I am, aura farming on top of a building with my glowing pink eyes resembling that turbulence I'm feeling on the inside, that grimace, that scowl, looking for my next kill. Now this scene again, sort of what I wanted to do was to show the difference between how I fight when I'm in my usual body and how I fight when I'm big. And look at this, isn't this, little me and big me on screen at the same time? Have you ever seen Superman and Clark Kent in the same room? Well, now you have. And so I thought, what's the best way to showcase that? It's, okay, well, sometimes, even though, I think I'm pretty good with a sword, sometimes you come up against an opponent who is just, who you are just outmatched by. And so I was like, let's have a really big guy. I fought some big guys before in my life, but this big guy is too big for me in this state. He is much taller. He has a much heavier weapon, and he just has more force with it. My technique means nothing in the face of the oppression that he's able to put down. And I love the way this is animated, and I love the look on my face. I'm so pressed. I'm like, damn it. I'm really sort of feeling, you've got this sort of a steel foundry. You've got all of these vats of lava lying around. It's a very, very beautifully done background. I love the strikes he does. I love how, you know, how heavy that sword feels. Come on, bang, boom, and then this moment, you know. I know some of you didn't like seeing me get stabbed, but it has happened, and it probably will happen again. Also, Tokito, thank you for that. Aku super. Spoiling me with food so much that I've become a picky kindred. A picky? That's okay, darling. I love to spoil you. I love to spoil you. It's been a big week. We've had a lot of stuff. You know what I think is an aura loss? I think an aura loss is only being able to talk about your victories. Because if I made this and I was a flawless combatant who only ever won, and I do eventually win in this battle, but it's only after a decent struggle, and you can see a lot of my clear weaknesses here. I think, you know, the worst thing is to be, you know, I'm not sure if it's true, but that rumor about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and how he has in his contract as an actor that he's not allowed to lose in a fight, that, in a sense, is weakness. You know, that's weakness in itself. I find that being able to also create a bit of, it's creating a bit of drama. What you have here is, well, really, it's the need that I have. What's going on? Help, help, help. There I am. It's the need to transform in some cases. If I was able to accomplish everything in a smaller body where I can fit through doors just fine, I can go out in public without getting looks, I can put a wig on and some contacts in, and I blend into the environment completely seamlessly. I have no worries whatsoever, and I can live in small chunks a pretty normal life. But there will always be people coming after me, and I'll always need eventually to find something to eat. And before I decided on my current path, this is sort of, you know, trying to find something justifiable, something criminal like this, some sort of a confrontation with a gang or something violent like this is a lot of what I contended with. Sometimes that convenient and subtler body, it just doesn't do enough. Like, sure, you could say, oh yeah, why don't you just sort of outmaneuver him? It's like, how do you outmaneuver something that is that much stronger? And he is skilled as well. He's very skilled. To claim that you always win, nobody always wins. I've had plenty of losses. I've had plenty of L's. You know, in this moment, if this were, you know, a completely factual encounter, if I didn't have that convenient Chekhov's gun dagger on my belt, I would have stayed dead. That would have been it. Would have been over for me. There you go. Oh no! I've been stabbed. Oh my god. That's it. Stab me with my own sword. Stab me with my own sword. Can you believe that? Stabbed me with my own sword and lifted me up off the ground. Can you imagine how painful that is? Can you imagine how painful that is? I can, because it's happened to me a couple times. Unbelievably painful. Astonishingly painful. More pain than you could ever imagine. And what happened to me, you know? Right through the stomach. Again, right? Again. What is it about my stomach? Maybe it's a cruel irony about how I'm trying to eat and I keep getting stabbed in the stomach. Sort of letting all the stomach acid leak out. But then I'm like, oh, I got my secret weapon. This is all I got. Now this line in the song, I know we're just looking at the video right now. So this line in the song, the really loud Naka, which I will not attempt to do right now because I would like to keep my voice in a safe and normal place. I remember even when in the early days when I had all of this confidence and I was thinking, yeah, I'd love to do a cover of that song. Even then, I listened to that one line and I was like, that's probably going to be kind of challenging. That's probably going to be kind of hard. But I still went ahead and I thought, you know, by the time that this needs to come out, I'm sure I will have practiced a lot. And when we finally did get down to recording, there were a lot of lines in here that I really struggled with. a really hard part of this song is the fact that at the start of the chorus, the happy de umesgushte, the happy, it sounds to me when I listen to it, the ha sounds a lot higher than it actually is. And so that was one note that I really, really struggled with. And I think it's because you sort of you kind of have this like scoop where you kind of go low, high, low really, really quickly. And Kenshi Unezu can do that because he's an incredible vocalist. But for me, I'm still learning, and that was really, really hard. So I never thought I would struggle with that part, but I really, really did. And then this part, we get to it, and while Unit 0 is like setting up and trying to get the loop going so I can give this a try, I just let one rip. I just shrieked Anaka as loud as I could, and he was like, I think you got it, man. And I was like, I guess I did. The one you hear in the song, I think, was a few takes later. I think it took, I tried it a few more times in future recording sessions, but I just kind of, what I did, I remember, so I've got my standing desk, right? I stood the standing desk up, and then I gripped it. I kind of leaned forward, and I just shouted as loud as I could. And it worked. And it worked. I was like, I should just treat this less as a vocal, as a singer thing, and more as a voice acted thing. And it really worked. It really, really worked for what it was. Bang. And so I stab the guy, he dies, drops me, and I fall to the floor. And he falls in front of me and obscures the transformation. And then you see as his soul leaves his body, it enters me and I'm able to transform once again. I love, the little bit of artistic liberty there, because you don't need to show the whole transformation sequence. You don't need to show all of that. The implication is more than enough for everybody to understand what's going on. We saw the bloody transformation in the beginning, and this was one of my main ideas right from the beginning. One of the main shots that I saw is me falling down like this. He comes down, and then as it clears, I've already transformed, and you kind of have the camera going towards the ground, and then the rotate. This was a part that I was really, really specific about. I really, really wanted to get this right. I'm still on the ground, but the camera rotates as though I'm starting to get up. I'm not moving. I'm still wounded and injured on the ground and out of breath, but the desire in me, the need to get back up and keep going, it's already rising within me. This is I'm rising up here. It's a very, very cool thing. And then we have some sort of effects with the guitar that comes in, and then stand up. And this is some great animation. They get my face really good. I sort of stumble back up. It reminds me of a line from Michael Rosen YouTube Poop. What does he say? We go onto the playground, and suddenly my mate Haribo keels over and dies. So we all look sad for a minute. Suddenly, he just stands up, dusts himself down. So we all crowd around and we go, "What happened?" And he looks at us. He looks at us and he goes, "Only thing that happened was revival." That's me. So yeah, I've got this kind of confusion. I'm almost looking around like, what happened? I've never thought of myself as a particularly... I plan certain things, but I find... I more so believe in learning on the job. And throwing yourself into a situation, I think that usually works better for me in these situations. So even if I'm not fully prepared, look at this smug son of a bitch. I'm like, yes, I am in fact alive. All right, let's go. And I realize, wait a minute, what's going on here? The sword is still in me. I love this. I love this shot so much. The sword is still all the way through my gut, and I'm so up, and the adrenaline is coursing through me such that I can't even feel it anymore. Let's just get that out of there. And they get a pan down, and you see the wound close. You see the wound close, that regeneration factor, using a little bit of that energy to patch myself up. And even if you look closely, is that a little belly button there? Ooh. I don't know. Is that a little belly button? It might be. I didn't notice that before, but that might be a little belly button. Look at that. Well, that's a treat for you guys. And then this was always the idea, was we've seen a sword fight scene. We've seen me sort of, you know, doing sword play. I thought, all right, now that that big guy is out of the picture, now that the, you know, the muscle is down, I'm in full control. I don't need this. I don't need this. Now that's aura. Aura isn't always winning. Aura is losing and then getting back up. I get ready. I've got the, you know, you've never really seen me fight with my claws before and the breathing fire. So this is a great shot. I love the way they've got the rotation, you know, everybody's spinning around and then wah, 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 wah. Breathe fire all over the room, which also really hurts to do. Which also really, really hurts to do. But it's necessary for, you know, now I'm doing it for aura farming purposes. All right, hear me out, guys. Hear me out, right? Look at this. Look at this frame. I feel like it's wrong to, it never works to say like, everybody make this a meme. But I did look at this the other day and I thought, you know, if you mask this out, and you could almost have like a meme format of me jumping into things, you know, like you could have like some cave like in a jungle that looks like a bottomless pit and it'd be like me trying to find the clit or whatever it is. Oh, hang on just a moment. The doorbell just rang. Let's hope it's not who I think it is. Thankfully, it was just a delivery. You see, I ordered some new bedside tables actually, and what wound up happening was that somebody, I don't know who it was, one of my neighbors, stole them because, you know, in my apartment, what you have is obviously you have like the mail room. Well, normally a package gets taken to the mail room and you go down and get your mail when it arrives and they take care of it for you. But for bigger packages, they have to bring it up to your door. Yes, they have to bring them up to your door. And so basically I was streaming when they got delivered. I didn't see the email that they had been delivered. And then they were just put outside my door. And then I see the picture, like, we have left them here. Here's the picture. And so I go out and they're not there. And I looked around, I rang on some doorbells, and I was like, has anyone seen this? And the only reasonable conclusion I would come to is that it was stolen. So I contacted the company, and they were very polite, and they said, we're very sorry that happened. We'll redeliver those for you. And I was like, wow, that's very nice. Okay. Yeah, they were very, very, very kind and understanding about it. I guess that they viewed that as a failure on the delivery side. So I was like, oh, okay, that's good. And so they just delivered them to me, and they're now safely inside my apartment. So that's good. Robin, thank you for the Aku Supa. Still in such disbelief. You covered a song from my fave manga ever, and you did so amazing. The animation was incredible too, and the lyrics fit you so well. I'm glad you think so. I'm really, really glad you think so. It's kind of crazy how well everything fits together when this song, I just liked the vibe and I sort of stuck with it out of just a desire to make something good, and it's resonated with a lot of people. So let's keep going through. Yeah, and then you have this whole fire breathing section. Yes, normally, I just love this part. Normally, like I've said earlier, I struggle to maintain a bit of air time. Staying in the air like this is not really usually all that possible, but allow it for just a minute, okay? Allow me to be what I was meant to be. Look at this. I love the defocus in the background. Oh, it's so intimidating. Oh, it's so brilliant. Oh, they've really cooked with this. You have these guys running away, fire lighting up the ground. You know, it's like what is it? The first guys who just sort of showed up there, you know, maybe they've put out a hit on me, whatever it is. They're all standing around getting ready to kill me, and then suddenly I drop to the ground and my hair starts growing and wings pop and they're like, what the fuck? Same sort of thing. I mean, I'm sure these guys thought I was just like a man, and then suddenly this is what's happening. And you got the fire just consumes the, and then you can see this is what my face looks like when I breathe fire, and you'll recognize this from the thumbnail of the cover as well. Like I say, extremely painful to have your mouth split open like this, but this is just how it happens. And I guess I'll have to own that. If I ever need to do this, I'm like, all right. I saw some people wondering if maybe my so some people wondering if maybe this new outfit of mine would have this mouth, and this mouth shows up in one of two situations. It's either for a brief moment while I'm spitting some fire, literally, or it's when I have completely lost myself, which you saw in the Demon Hungers, right? I don't look like a my face right now, I look like a person. When that comes out, I don't have the face of a person, I don't have the mind of a person. So, I hate to say it, there will never be an outfit where I have that face. I will never be able to just put that face on for you because you like the look of it, because it either means I'm about to set my room on fire or I'm in no fit state to be streaming. That's just a sad fact of life. I wish I could, if you think that it's, kind of sexy in a way for me to have this fucked up face, but that's just not something I'm going to be able to do. And then this part. Ah, look at that. POV. I'm busy asking the GameStop employee for my pre-order, and then suddenly a child asks me, excuse me, would you want to trade Pokemon cards with me? And I'm like, and I suddenly feel embarrassed, and I realize I've been kind of mean to the GameStop employee, so I apologize. That hasn't actually happened before. It's just sort of what it made me think of. Angelia, thank you for the super. What's the texture of your wings like? Well, the black parts that you can see are very tough, sort of almost like, I would hesitate to say keratin. It's like a sort of very dense, not quite bone, but it's bone with a slightly squishy texture on the outside is sort of what it's like. And then the red parts of the wings are sort of canvassy. They're quite thick, they're quite durable, but they are definitely much lighter. Cartilage, maybe. To be honest, I've not really. It's not like there are any demon doctors out there. If there are demon doctors, I don't trust them. Nobody's ever done surgery on these bad boys, and thank fucking God they grow back. Oh, this poor little man. I love the way they animated this little guy. Look at him go. Oh no. I love the way they animated this little guy. So cool. I look over him. Doryok mirai, beautiful star. Doryok mirai, beautiful star. And then I'm like, oh. No survivors. Now, okay. Me when there's a sale on at M&S for those little cocktail cans. Check this out. Any knowers among you know what reference I sent to the animators for that little move? Any knowers? Kazuya Mishima, correct. This is a really iconic little move, and I will admit, ever since I kind of started playing him in Smash, and I sort of started low-key kinning him a little bit, I have incorporated this move into my repertoire. I'm ashamed to admit it. But even though in reality it looks a little different, it looks a little clumsier than this, I have tried it, and it feels real good to pull off, I will say. I mean, look at that. Anybody, all right? Make sure to stream Vox Akuma kickback cover, or I will do this to you. Boom. You know, I think I took a lot more joy in the scripting of this one because, again, at the time I had the mindset of, let's make something really cool for the Kindred that they're going to look and be like, wow, my Oshi is so strong and powerful. But I think I also benefit from the fact that these battles are all just sort of summaries of various parts of my life. It's like a highlights reel almost. These aren't meant to be real battles. I'm not dramatizing a real murder that I've done. This isn't a real guy. This is just sort of, it's just sort of something in my mind that popped out when I was, because becoming a part of NIJISANJI encouraged me to see my life through an artistic lens. I'd never thought about portraying my life in film or in animation or in any other way before, but then I realized, like, yeah, now there's kind of a need for that. Now this actually makes sense. And so I started thinking about it, and I was like, I've had quite a few interesting experiences, haven't I? And there's a lot that I could glean from this. And that's sort of where this came from, you know, just kind of really taking stock of my life and my experiences and wondering, what is the audience really going to see? Should I join the Kindred and get a membership? You should only join a membership or give super or anything like that if you can do so comfortably, financially. If you're struggling, there is no obligation or pressure, and you should only do it if you can afford it and if you think that you would enjoy it. No pressure whatsoever, okay? Also, Phoenix, thank you so much for the Aku Super. I think I missed your super. Thank you very much. Proud to have you as my Oshi. Thank you. I'm really, really proud of what we managed to do, and I'm really glad to see you. Really glad to see you again. Thank you. Big, big kisses for you. Angelia, thank you for the super. And Angelia again, thank you for the super. Does your mouth really return to normal, or is it for YouTube? What do you mean? Like is this all special effects? No, I have... My mouth does return to normal. I didn't start breathing fire one day and then suddenly I'm like... and was never able to close it again. That mouth I'm not really able to form coherent sentences with. You know, the language, we require lips and tongue to form sounds. I don't really... In the MV... Yeah, it goes back to normal because I was done. I was done breathing fire, and I was still aware enough to not have completely lost myself. I have a little bit of control over it. Boom. Boom. Like, was the bloody mess... Oh, the bloody mess censored in this part? Yes, I will say... there's some gore in this music video, but I did make sure that I told Studio Ureki to focus on making sure that blood was either, if it's, you know, bright red blood, that it's shown in sort of a milder context, like right here, when there's a little splat of blood on my face. Like, this is the kind of thing that inside of a YouTube video is usually pretty acceptable. As well as what you can see next, I mean, this is probably, in my mind, this is like up there with the guy getting his head cut off as one of the more violent parts of the video. But again, the blood is quite dark, it's in shadow, it takes up a very small portion of the screen. This is the stuff that matters when it comes to, you know, obeying YouTube's guidelines. And, you know, I had some discussion with staff, and they were sort of saying, you know, maybe, you know, you want to be careful about the content of the video. And I really read YouTube's violence guidelines quite strongly. I read them a lot. And in the end, I came to the conclusion, like, I think this is fine. I really think this is fine. The main one that I saw was, you know, obviously this is animation. The main one in the guidelines is about graphic violence in games, and you're allowed to show content that is, you know, even in a video game, there's like intense gore, dismemberment. They allow that as long as it's more than 15 seconds into the video. You can't show it right at the beginning, but if it's 15 seconds or more in, then it should be fine. This is towards the end, so in my mind, my full understanding of the guidelines, I've been aware for a long time that this should be completely fine. Kim Byona, thank you for the super. It did give me a good laugh, yeah, that was some good shit. I'm really glad you liked it. I hope you guys are going to have fun looping the cover. I've been looping it a lot. Ever since Unit 0 gave me the most recent version, I was like, fuck, that's good. Oh my god. Jewel, thank you for the super as well. I'm glad that you really liked the cover and everything. We had a great month. We had a great month this month, didn't we? We've achieved so much. It's not even over yet. It's not over yet. And then I really like this part. You know. Get me out of there. Just get me into the sky. Get me away from this nightmare. The duality. I wanted it to look a little weird. The duality of this hulking monster and this scared little guy on the inside. Even though I feel like I have more confidence now, even though I feel like I am so much more aware of who I am and what I want to be because of you, that part of me, it'll never fully go away. I'll still question why I'm here, what I'm doing it all for, what my purpose is. I have purpose, but finding it when I do feel so apart from human beings who I would consider so much more like myself, and then there's this unignorable part of me. You know, it is a difficult thing to reckon with, but you know, I like having this little aside here to sort of round off the music video. And there you go. So thank you to, obviously, Kenshi Nezu for his incredible work creating the original song, and the whole team who brought that together, the label, everybody who created Kickback originally. It's a beautiful song, and it inspired me to create this cover, and I had a wonderful time learning to sing it. Vocals, Vox Akuma, that's me. Unit 0 did the instrumental and the mix, and they are both incredible. Everything he did was so creative. When you go back, I'm sure you're going to loop it again. When you go back, listen to the music and really think about, try to hear those layers, okay? Try to hear those layers if you can. Try to listen to all the different parts, the chorus, all of, remember that's all me just doing different tones, different voices, different emotions. Put those are all sandwiched together to create a really, really unique sound that I personally, I really, really love. I wasn't sure how we were going to pull it off, but then when I first thought of that, Unit 0 added to it, and we created something that I really, really love. And of course, the massive, massive amount of credits from Studio Yoriki. We have all of these people. There was a, production supervisor, chief animation director, compositing, video editing director, background artist, and then all of these people doing layout animation, second key animation, in-betweening, and painting. Look at all of these people. A huge team effort went into creating this. This music video, it's unlikely that I will commission something like this again because, it's just... I remember when I, at the time, wanted to do this, I remember my head being so filled with all of these different ideas, and I just wanted to do them all. And, financially, it's not the kind of thing that's like, I know that this project is not one that I'll ever truly break even on, because an animation like this comes around once in a lifetime. It's difficult to think of any way that you could try to earn back what this team deserved for putting that much work into bringing my idea to life. So it's something that maybe I would love one day to be in a position where I can work on animation again and I can direct animation again. It'll just come in a different form, and it will be for a different reason. But do I regret commissioning this animation for this video? Not for a second. This team deserved every penny. They deserved every piece of praise. Everyone who has given them compliments, I want you to give them their flowers for as much or as often as you can, because all of them worked incredibly hard, and they, from what I heard from the producer, were really delighted with what they managed to pull off, and they love to work on it. And if I did get the chance, and if the opportunity arose, I would love to work with them again on another project another time. But for now, this little entry point into this arc of my life, I'm happy to say that you've done it all, guys. We had this month, we had a series of puzzles. I was leaving you hints that you figured out left and right. And then I showed you this brand new outfit. All of a sudden, this spectrogram hidden inside some audio that you found through a puzzle. And then by surprise, my first new song cover since New Sidonia. Well, first song cover on my channel anyway. First proper big one, I guess. And I'm really proud that it finally came around. And there will be more. There will be more like it. From now on, things are going to be pretty much the same, but my life is going to be a little different. It's not so simple anymore as just deciding to go out slaying demons again, like I've been feeling the drive to do for a long time. Now, my purpose isn't just to do that. My purpose is to be there for you. From what I'm to understand, for many of you, this is a very important part of your lives. You look forward to seeing me. I look forward to seeing you. Letting either duty obscure the other would be an injustice to that. All I want you to know is that I'm going to be involved in some dangerous battles in my evenings now. And what that means is you may not know who I'm going to be each time I come back to stream. Where before, what wound up happening was that if some accident happened, I would be stuck in my big body for months at a time, waiting for something to happen. Nowadays, I could come back and I could be big, and then the next day I could have a tough battle, and I could come back and be small again. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't imagine what the outcome of these battles will be, but for you guys, I guess it's the bonus of a little bit more flexibility and getting to appreciate all of these different outfits I've collected over the past 4 years. No matter what, remember, it's all me, and all of me is always going to be here for you. I want to say a huge thank you to Ash for the super. Really glad to hear that you're proud of me. Coco, thank you. I love you too. Wallflower, thank you very much for the super. Ah, stars are beautiful. And yes, they are. Mate, thank you for the super. I'm really, really glad you enjoyed it, and the new outfit as well. Mero, could you put your big projects on a scale out of 10 for ambition and complexity? Well, I would... Okay. For me, I think that the Demon Hungers is a 10. And I think I'm mostly speaking from my own experience with how much I personally needed to do. Because with this song, my big contribution was the scripting for the music video, and it was obviously doing the vocals. In terms of ambition, it would come from how difficult this song is to sing and the scope and scale of the music video. But compared to the Demon Hungers, where I was editing some very, really painstaking motion editing for, 14, 15 hours a day for weeks. For me, I think the Demon Hungers was so much bigger of a project than I ever could have anticipated. So that for me is a 10. Minotaur is similarly big, but I found the editing a lot easier on that because it was more like traditional film editing. Although getting all of those songs done was a huge deal. Really, they're kind of tied because the music in the Demon Hungers is beautiful and it's brilliant, but Diego, he'd worked his magic with that. Whereas in Minotaur, so much needed, I needed to muster up so much for the singing in that too. Both of those are kind of a 10 for me. It's closer to an 8 because so many amazing people took over and did so much work to bring this to life. And the amount of hard labor I was left with came down to learning the song and all of that. So, it was definitely a little easier, but, it was never easy, let's say. Thank you, Coco, for the super. Thank you so much. And Mimi, thank you very much. I know I keep asking. Please postbound from Oma reprise. Okay, I'll do it. Melty, thank you for the super. I'm really, really glad that you loved it. Angelia, thank you so much for the super. Aini. And Duck, thank you. It is still me. And Kairos, thank you for the super as well. I'm sure I will. Yes. Well, I have a job to do now. The early stages are over. The exciting part is just beginning. Where before when I first thought I would release that song, I was a different man in a different place. I had different priorities. I felt differently about who I am. And over the past few years, I've experienced so much. Over the past few years, I have seen all kinds of injustices. I have dealt with a lot of really terrible things. I've had memories from the past come back. I've had people that I thought were dead reappear in my life. I've had enemies that I thought I would never see again come back and give me a second chance to put them down. And that feeling has stayed with me. So where before what that music video represented was a man who wanted to balance this difficult part of his life that he could never truly get rid of, now I intend to send it out as some good fun to all of you and a warning to others, and they know who they are. And I think now I've got to get to work. I've got to take to the sky. I've got to get out there. I've got to go and see what's going on. I have some leads. I've got some names in mind. So I think I'm going to go pay some people a visit tonight. And I'll make sure to let you all know about it tomorrow. Tomorrow's stream, I would like to do a sort of Q&A. I'd like to do a Zatsu, a little Q&A Zatsu, where you can ask some questions about various things, but mainly I'd like to answer questions just sort of about things going on. But I'm not sure if I'll be able to. You see, the problem is that I don't know how tonight is going to go. It could be light work and I could get back in time for tea, or it could be a real challenge. We'll see. Whatever happens, you'll know about it, and I'll make sure to give you the best that I can always. Because no matter what I go through, I'm never going to take away the things that you enjoy the most. Angelia, thank you so much for the Aku Super, my darling. That is going to do it for me. Love you all very much. Thank you for being with me and for waiting so long. Those of you who in 2022, 23, when I was vaguely mentioning, I've been working on a difficult song, I was practicing for this. And I finally, after so many distractions, so many other projects taking precedence, so many changes happening in my life, it finally got done. And I could not be prouder. Not just of how much I've grown, but mostly of the people who helped me make it there. To Studio Yuriki, to Unit Zero, most of all, and also, of course, to you, my lovely kindred. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do such fun creative and fantastic things. I am so pleased to get to do all of this with you, for you, around you, and I hope I never have to stop. Really lovely, thank you for the super. I'll always shine on like a beautiful star. Tei-chan, thank you very much. Proud of you too. And Nikoko, thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Slayer over and out. That was lame. That's kind of lame. Oh well. What should I say? What should my outro be? Because I never really had an outro or an intro. I'm always just like, hello. Or I'm like, goodbye. People have noticed when I'm ending stream, I'll be like, well, when I say, well, that's it. It's over. You know, they're like, no, he said, well. I guess that's it. Well, you know, and then whatever comes after it. That's my official outro. Anyway. Jelly, thanks for the super as well. You're the best. I need BB. See you tomorrow, guys.